Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Leading Female Executive Panel. Now, those of you who usually join us realise that we normally go live on the second Monday of every month, but we were at the annual Chief Data and Analytics Officer Fall event, so we pushed it to this week. But we are a little bit closer to Halloween, so we thought we'd do a spooktacular special and talk about avoiding a scary data strategy. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome up my brilliant panel, and we have a huge panel for you today, and we're only here for 30 minutes. So if you do have any questions, pop them in early, because I can guarantee we're going to run out of time as usual. So I'm going to go down through and invite the panel to join me. Welcome, everyone. So great to see you. Oh, I wasn't lying. I'm still going. I'm still inviting people up. And there we go. It's me. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let's start off. Before you give your opening answer, just give an introduction to yourself and your role, if you wouldn't mind. But let's kick off with the big question. How do you avoid a scary data strategy? Maritza, I'll go to you first.
Hi everyone, I'm Maritza. I'm the head of data at BNP Paribas Personal Finance South Africa. We're known as RCS Group here. So this is not the easiest question to answer. I've had many horrifying experiences, and I have to say it works the other way around as well. As a consultant, I've also had experiences where I was petrified by the data ambition of my client. So it's not just the company that gets completely petrified by what you as a data leader are proposing. And I think it comes down to really understanding your data maturity, where you are now, and all of those different elements of your data strategy, data governance, data management, data analytics, and understanding where it is that you want to be. And you don't have to be overly ambitious. You have to focus on the things that's really going to bring value to your organizations, really going to move the dial. Because if you start from a really low base, there's no point in focusing on the really sexy stuff and AI if really all your business needs is self-service BI. So I think it takes a lot of grit and courage to be really clear about that.
Amazing. Thank you, Maritza. I love how you already challenged the idea that I was coming with, which is very much how do we as data leaders not scare the business. But I think that's a really interesting perspective, that it's backwards as well in terms of that expectation that's being set by the business, and actually us not being scared by those expectations and having that even playing field. So thank you. Amy Gershkoff Bolles, and the only reason I'm saying your full name is because we've got another lovely Amy on the panel. Would you like to kick off with your thoughts there?
Yes, absolutely great to be here with this wonderful group of women this morning. So my name is Amy Gershkoff Bolles. I'm the global head of digital and emerging technology strategy at Levi Strauss & Company. And I would say the most important thing in terms of not scaring the business with your data strategy is to really, as you're articulating the data strategy and the technology roadmap that you're laying out, is to really frame it in terms of business outcomes. So there's a temptation amongst all of us technical folks to want to frame things in terms of the technical, not only the technical deliverables, but the technical advantages, and talk about, the elegance of a particular architecture and so forth. But I think really for the business, what matters is the outcomes that technology and that data strategy can drive for the business. So talking in terms of business outcomes is absolutely paramount. And then you want to make sure that what you're building and the roadmap that you're executing against from a data and technology standpoint are in lockstep alignment with the goals and KPIs that the business is trying to drive. And then you want to frame everything you're doing in terms of those same KPIs and goals that the business is driving. And I've been in a number of organizations where actually the data team or the data and the technology organization or product organization often carried the exact same business goals as the business itself, whether those be goals in terms of sales or revenue, uplift, EBITDA, whatever the case may be. And so that really strong alignment between business goals and technology and data goals, I think, is paramount to success.
Amazing. Thank you, Amy. Beza, great to see you virtually. Obviously, we got to catch up last week in person, which was a real treat. Give us an intro and your intro thoughts, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Beza. I'm the Chief Data Analytics for state of Texas Department of Children and Family Services. So what I see a lot is that when we develop strategies, is this all-encompassing monolith, includes a lot of things. I think for a lot of organization is kind of narrowing down your scope to only the essential elements and beginning there. Once you achieve, sort of your goals, objectives for a smaller project and sort of building on those wins for larger things. But what I usually see for a strategy is that it's like multifaceted, multidimensional, multi-million-dollar projects that often fail because there's too convoluted. You're trying to achieve too many things. So my advice would be just narrow down to the most essential components, which is really, really hard to do. We sort of add everything, but I like to move toward the other side of like minimalism, start small and then build.
Amazing. Thank you, Beza. Wendy, great to see you again. If you wouldn't mind giving an intro and your big answer to how to not scare with your data strategy.
Yes, thank you. And thank you. Great to see everyone here. Love how many people we have on the panel today. I'm Wendy Gilbert. I'm the Deputy Director of Enterprise Business Intelligence at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Seattle. My pronouns are she and her. And I would say very much aligned with what Amy had mentioned earlier, in that my first thought in this question was that we need to have that alignment across the business as well as technology. That in my previous roles where we've been really successful in data strategies, it's been that taking the goals for each group and making sure that we are aligned before you even get started. What are we trying to deliver? What is the business value we're trying to add? And where are we trying to go together? And that way there's no spookiness at the end because they've been with you throughout the whole journey, which I think is really, really important. And then also balancing that strategy. That for us here at the foundation, there's this lovely mixture of turning off old things and privacy and building net new and those innovations that people are looking for. But you also have to support the things that you've already built. There's that making sure that you're thinking about the big picture and being honest about what's needed there.
Wendy, that's such a great response, and it comes on to a question that I was going to ask as well, because as we know, with any good thriller or horror story, there's a difference between a jump scare and a gradual scare. And I think when it comes to strategies, there is a quite easy possibility that you can bring something out, and if the business hasn't been along with that journey, it does feel like a jump scare, and everyone's reaction is to kind of either freeze or fight. And that is not what we want with the business. We want it to be, that nothing is jumping out at them. But then, as you say, bringing them on that journey so that it doesn't feel like a build up to a scare either. Amazing. Our other Amy Riley, welcome to your first ever leading female exec panel. If you wouldn't mind giving an intro and then your thoughts on how not to scare with the data strategy.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Amy Riley, I'm a officer here at Corinium, and fairly new in the role, so delighted to be doing such other esteemed leading executives here. My one would be not defining measures or indicators of success, and I think that probably relates to everything that's been said so far, but just being really clear about what success looks like for the business. So after you define your goals, what then does success in your data strategy look like? A fairly sort of basic one, but I think really important and something that can be, not done as well as it could be in sometimes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. Nirali, great to see you again. If you wouldn't mind an intro and then your thoughts.
And thanks for inviting me again, Catherine. So I'm Nirali Patel. I'm the Director of Data Analytics and Insight here at Openreach in the UK. Scaring data strategies, really bad horror story, have done that. I have learned from that. And my key learning was, sounds really bad, but initially avoid the technical jargon, right? Assess your audience. Are they able to understand what is their priorities? Are they more of a technical type firm or are they more of a business value focused firm? And then align your strategy. It doesn't mean you don't have to have all the parts, but the storytelling to your audience has to be what, clicks their boat. So if you're working in a technical organization, they're used to the concepts of platforms and AI and robotics. Whereas if you're working in a very service orientated organization, they're more used to value outcomes, etc. Increasing customer loyalty, etc. That, and focus your strategy on that. And my top tip that I have found that's really helped me is work with some like change management company style or consultancy style. So I've got a slight consultancy background, a bit like Maritza as well, whereas it's all about the language. You still have all your components with governance and data and AI and everything behind it, but just when you're speaking the language and getting the guys on the journey of this is a little bit of change. This is an evolution. The latest word I've been using recently is more of an evolution. You're not doing data wrong, right? So going into an organization saying, we don't do X, Y, and Z. Actually, is that what they need? Is it not what they need? But just saying, let's evolve what you do. And it might be moving from Excel reports onto self-serve BI, or it might be building the next robotic that cleans your house for you. If I could have that one, please, if anyone's designing that. But that's my quick synopsis.
Oh, Nirali, thank you. And this is why I absolutely love this panel, because you each always bring your experiences and you'll happily talk about lessons learned as well as everything that's gone fantastically well as well. So thank you for that. And it's great to see you back. If you wouldn't mind giving us an intro and then how to not spook with your data strategy.
Hey guys, my name is Ines Ashton. I'm Director of Advanced Analytics at Mars Pet Care. And actually for us, it was the business who spooked us with their strategy. So the business a few years back said they want to know 100 million pet parents intimately. And we need to create a data strategy that can connect all the pet care ecosystem that Mars has into one data strategy. And for those who don't know, Mars does own several pet care kind of industries, including veterinary health. We have like Fitbits for dogs. We've got obviously the nutritional side of the business, and we've got diagnostic services, so like where they do DNA. So Mars has very strong aspirations of utilizing this kind of pet care ecosystem, and that was really scary for anybody working there. How do we connect, DNA with R&D testing, with like X-rays, with diet plans, with Fitbit movements of how much your dog went, ran around the garden or chased a cat or whatever it is. So actually, we have very high aspirations. We're still scared. I don't think we've quite cracked it yet, but we are very also energized by that. By that strategy. And as Nirali said, we are very kind of customer centric or pet parent centric. And Amy also said we're very business outcome centric. So how can we use that data to serve our pets better, to make sure we have healthier, happier pets out there? So yeah, that's kind of how we've done it. And if anything, the business has scared us.
Amazing, thanks Ines, and I love that. Dogs chasing cats, certainly a really interesting data point, probably quite a unique one for this group. And then to our final panelist, and to our final panelist of today, who is also having her debut on the Leading Female Exec, Prachi, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I'm loving the discussion. Hi, everyone. I'm Prachi Priya, Chief Data Officer for Team One, which is a full-service integrated agency based out of Los Angeles, and we are part of Publicis Group. And Catherine, your question is amazing, and I resonate with a lot of answers that all these leaders have given. The first one, I think, Amy, you mentioned that, the first one that really spooks the business is not connecting our data strategy to the overall business goals. Because it's so easy for us to become enamored with new data or new tools, but it's not about, the focus should not be on the technology or the new shiny tool. It should be on the business outcome. So totally agree with that. And the second one, we spook the business is by sharing tons of charts and lots of numbers just to show what work we have done and getting to the data strategy. But I think it's all about showing what it means for them. And Nirali, you said it right. What is the story we are telling when we are presenting this data? And it's so important to understand who our audience is. What do they care about? What is the information? How is this information going to impact them? And what are the actions that they should be taking after receiving it? So kind of tailoring your data story, build that narrative arc, and take them along the journey. And why are we getting to this data strategy that we are talking about? So those two, and I'll add a last one, talking about when we build the data strategy. I think one thing that I've learned from my past, always build in small wins, because that helps bring trust, credibility initially, and to work on your long-term plan. It doesn't
Amazing, Prachi. Thank you so much for that. What a debut. Now, usually I'm calling out in comments and saying hello to people, but my Wi-Fi is being very unpredictable today, so I'm really scared of actually clicking LinkedIn that this whole live stream may crash. But one question has made its way through to the streaming service. So Rupal, thank you so much for getting involved here. And this is such a great question, because when it comes to data strategy, value is often the next part to that content. And I think something that's really unique to the data space is constantly having to justify return of investment. I've conducted so many interviews which are titled something like data to dollars, or being able to justify foundational work to get executive buy-in. And I think this is a really interesting area that perhaps other functions don't have to deal with as much. So I'm keen to get the panel's thoughts on this. How do we move to having everything ingrained in data in terms of what we're doing, and trying to move away from having to constantly justify return investment on our activities? Bit of a tough one, I appreciate, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts. Nirali, I'll come to you first if you don't mind.
I had a funny feeling you're going to come to me, Catherine. Thanks. So moving that dial, so data is a new thing, and initially when you start off, you have to invest, right? Because organisations haven't, invested in the infrastructure, the capabilities, and I'm not talking about the data capabilities within the data functions, but also within the business themselves, right? So you'll hear a lot about data literacy programs, etc. And I think it's a natural journey that people go on, the natural kind of cycle of you plan, you normally move along into a BAU process. So where I've worked, we have managed to go now, integrate data. And one of the key things is every time there's a business project or a business transformation that needs to go on, around the table with our tech colleagues, there are data colleagues as well. Everyone pitches in their costs and their efforts to deliver that business outcome or that business program or project, and then that all gets encompassed. So therefore, we move away from the fact of an investment of an ROI, and we've moved into the business that we are part of your business processes as well. So I hope that gives a little bit of insight, but it's something that we can talk about more later if you want to.
Yeah, amazing. And with that call to action as well, do make sure you connect with all of our fantastic speakers here today, because we have only got 10 minutes left, so you only get a bite size of insights on these formats. Prachi, what's your thoughts there when it comes to ingraining it into everything and not having to justify that return of investment every single time?
Yeah, first one will be, I'll say, data culture, how that is a bigger ask and bigger question. How do you infuse data culture so that you don't have to justify the ROI every time? And there's so many ways you can infuse data culture. One part is data literacy that Nirali touched about. And I would say the second part is creating centralized data. How do you create like single source of truth? And the simple idea, if everyone is drawing their data from the same trusted sources, everyone will know that the data is trusted. And establishing that single source of truth is also help others to ensure that data is handled securely, and then trust is built. And then that's how you start using data on a regular basis. And I would say second part of that, and how do we not have to justify, is analytics. Typically, or data and analytics is two parts. First part is defining the problem, and the second part is actually solving the problem. In the first part, if we collaborate with everyone from the business and come up with what the problem is, define the problem, I think that helps. That collaboration helps, because then they are a part of it. We are all a part of solving this. So when you propose the solution, which is data driven, it's easier to go along with everyone than justifying it at every part. So I'd say collaboration is a big one in here.
Amazing. Ines, what would you add to that point on having to justify that return of investment every single time?
Yeah. Well, when I joined Mars, we absolutely had to do that, and it was quite painful, as you guys all know. But slowly, people have started embracing analytics, and the way I think we've done it is like Nirali said, transformational projects which have funding for analytics, and as part of those transformational projects, carving out work streams that are specifically aimed at embracing, embedding analytics in the target operating model of that transformational program, so that it's no longer, analytics is no longer an afterthought, but part of the business operating model. We've also seen that as part of that move, we've seen great success when analytics teams sit inside the business. So again, it demystifies it. Then you don't, if you have resources available within your team, you don't have to go out and justify getting resource or help or whatever it is, so you don't have additional costs. But again, just embracing it into target operating models one way or another has worked quite well at Mars.
Amazing, thank you. Inez, now I'm going to play devil's advocate ever so slightly here, because something you all mentioned was that it's really crucial that the business strategy and the data strategy, and sometimes you just call it the same thing, right? And they stay aligned. Can it be helpful if you are having to put things to a return of investment each time, that you are literally harnessing yourself to that business strategy? And it can actually be quite a useful task to ensure that those goals are aligned, because if you're not always justifying the investment, the resource, the reason why, you could end up going poles apart from the original goal, and actually it could be a useful method. Maritza, I see you nodding there. I'll come to you on that.
Yeah, because I was actually questioning, why shouldn't we justify ROI continuously for data and analytics? Because if you think about something like customer experience, or customer experience management, that's kind of a BAU task or thing for any organization. But if we are investing in a new CRM system, then that needs to be justified with a business case. If we want to employ more call center agents, that's got to be justified. So what makes data analytics different? I don't think data analytics is different, especially if you are in this momentum of continuously evolving your data analytics function. And I just think we need to measure the value of data analytics continuously. If you don't have a data scorecard, then you've got to ask, why not? You need to measure how well you are doing, not just your data strategy, but operationally, how well is data analytics doing in your organization? So I don't have an issue with continuously justifying ROI. We should.
Wendy, I see you nodding away there whilst Maritza was chatting, so I'll come to you and then we'll move to the next question that's just come in.
Yes, and totally agree with Maritza in that. And I was thinking the same thing, that I don't think it's as opposed to in the question. Totally appreciate the question, and that it's not are you working toward BAU as opposed to justifying the return on investment. I think it's in addition to that. We have annual planning, for example, at the foundation, where other projects are coming our way, where they're proposing new work that they need to have done that has a data and analytics component. And we make sure that we're at the table, we're having conversations with them of what's the need from my team to support them. But then we also have our own data and BI projects that we're bringing to the table and asking for, and then we need to have that information as far as return on investment. So I think there needs to be, and we have the systems that we have to support in general. There is definitely a data literacy education component of that BAU of just making data part of the company. But I think it's also that liaison with all of the other leaders within the company. And this kind of ties into the last question that just came in of senior cheerleaders. I think you need that as well. You need people across the program that are helping you justify ROI so that you don't have to be doing it yourself all the time.
Amazing. What a great link into the next question there, Wendy. Goodness me, you're a pro. So yeah, this is a great question coming from Helen. Thank you so much for sending it in. I think this is, again, it naturally leads into that strategy piece of having those cheerleaders throughout, data champions, etc., however you call them in your organization. So we've only got a few minutes left, so let's do a quick fire round. Amy Briley, I'll come to you first. How do you get senior cheerleaders for data, and how are you looking at signing them up?
Well, I have, as you know, have come from within the business. So for me, these people are hugely important throughout the business and helping me to get some quick wins. So they're people we've had good relationships before this current role, but also people who maybe are like inclined to get involved in data analytics projects and can already see the value of them. So absolutely hugely important in getting wider buy-in as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Beza, how about yourself? What are you doing to attract and keep those cheerleaders?
I think addressing their key problems when you bring somebody on board is that you know, you really have to align with their business need and address their problems. If you don't do that, then obviously you lose buy-in. But if you're bringing them in, you have to, you know, invest in what is it they're trying to achieve and the goals that they're trying to sort of streamline in their organization or their division.
Absolutely. And Amy Gershkoff-Bolles.
Yeah, so I guess my perspective is slightly different, which is that, you know, I was one of the earliest chief data officers back in 2015, and I've seen the industry really evolve. But I think we'll have the best sort of senior cheerleaders for data when the business leaders actually become the data leaders themselves. If you think back until, late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of companies had an internet department. I don't know how many of the folks listening remember those days, but I do. But nowadays, no company on earth has an internet department because the internet is just part of how everyone does their job. And I think 10 years from now, data will be the same. There won't be product managers who then work with data analysts because they themselves will have to be data analysts in order to be the most effective product managers. Same with someone who's a marketing manager. They'll be, they themselves will be needing to use data in order to be most effective at their job. Same with sales or any other function within an organization. So I think we're going to have the best cheerleaders when the business professionals become the data professionals themselves.
Amazing. Amy, what a great way to end the panel. And just like that, 30 minutes has gone by. I told you it would go quick. So well done to the two who submitted your questions in first. And sorry to those who have asked questions and we've not had a chance to answer them. But of course, we will endeavour to do within the business of data content. But thank you all for joining me here today. Now, just like that, the October Leading Female Exec is over, but just a few announcements. Last week, we kicked off our nomination process for our Global Innovators Top 100. So you can nominate yourself or a peer now. All you have to do, head over to the Business of Data platform. You'll find a submission survey. Please fill that out with as much detail as possible. It's really competitive, so please do give us as much to go on as to why you think you should be in that list or why there is a peer within the industry who you think we absolutely have to celebrate. Those nominations will stay open until the 17th of November. So you've got a bit of time, have a real think about those questions. And if you do have any questions, you are most welcome to pop me or anyone on the team a message and we'll do our best to answer any questions. But for now, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure as always. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time.
Wanting to meet with other senior executives in the data and analytics space? In an environment that is created for connection and inspiration? Then why not join one of our in-person conferences? We have events all over the world, and you can find out the ones closest to you by visiting coriniumintelligence.com/events.